It's big plays.
What a play!
Bad days.
I bet this guy's into the woods $100.
And parlays.
That's the one. Parlay.
Big plays, bad days, and parlays on Hurrdat Sports.
Here to place a wager.
Saxophones are on, and we have liftoff. Big plays, bad days, and parlays with Troy Aldridge. I'm Andrew Rogers, and it was an up and down week, at least for me, when it came to sports betting this past week. And it all started with college football on Saturday. Or, you know what? Let's retract that and go one step prior to Saturday and talk about USC and how every pick that I laid out up until Clemson missed. Every single one. And I don't know if I fell too deep in the waters of, hey, you win this game, you solidify your spot, or if it was more just at least in USC's case, they had lost to Utah once this year already. Caleb Williams playing for the Heisman, USC playing for the spot. It just kind of made sense to go that route. And for the most part, you watch that game from the first quarter into the second, and you're like, Andrew, you were right. You were absolutely right. It was like 17-3, I think, at one point. But then Caleb Williams started limping, and limping a little bit more. And then he's practically playing on one leg, and Cam Rising and the Utah defense just kind of became too much for that USC team and ultimately cost me that first game, which cashed my parlays. I say cashed in a bad way, just completely obliterated those. And then my solo bets kind of in tandem kept falling off the cliff, because then it was picking Ohio over Toledo. It was picking TCU to beat K-State, and so forth down the list. And I don't really know if I bounced back from that. I'm bringing in Troy now. Troy, did we hit a hockey bet at least to save me at any point this weekend?
Yes, remember we woke up to Kempe having the game winner? Or he had an assist on the empty netter, not game winner.
That's right. So that's what brought me back. I could have sworn there was something, because I'm like, a roller coaster doesn't just go down, it comes back up.
And then we were up 140, and then I burnt another 60 for us on Sunday. And
then the following day, we continued to burn. Yes. And, it really wasn't a bad day of hockey, which would have been what, Tuesday? Is that the day that I'm
something
referencing?
Like that. Yeah.
It really wasn't a bad day for hockey. Go back and look at the scores. For us guys that like to do player props, there were a lot of goals scored. It wasn't like a 1-0 game here and then a 2-1 game there. Now, most games were like 5-2.
It's
4-2. And like those days are the best, yet we couldn't find the right combination. And that's always the biggest beatdown when it comes to putting together something that is not only juicy, but on the verge of hitting. And my big one was Matthew Tkachuk. I needed 2 points from Matthew Tkachuk, and he ended up only getting one. And I think he had one. It was either the first or second period. He had time to get his third. It happens
every time. I needed Kale. I lost by Kale 2 points. He gets an assist on the first goal of the game. Less than 4 minutes in, dead silent the rest of the game.
There were just a lot of bad beats, and not like in a way of, oh my gosh, it was hitting 99% chance of a winner, and then it didn't hit, but more on the line of, man, if I would have put these two guys with these two guys, it would have hit. Or if I would have round-robined something in this bet, it would have had a better likelihood of me making money versus not. And, it's the nature of the beast, right? It's what you deal with. And, it's funny because I stumbled across this clip today. 9 years ago today, one of the worst bad beats in history took place, and it sounded like this.
Rice as a receiver. Flacco, end zone. Touchdown, Dennis Pitta. Conversion, there he is. Flacco, end zone, open. Torrey Smith.
Let me guess, is the snow coming down heavily in this game?
Sure is.
Stuff in terms of the intermediate passing game. Toby Gerhardt, infield.
Gerhardt.
Hit a lot more. Toby Gerhardt. Touchdown Vikings.
As the game's going on here, It was 12-7 with 2 minutes to go.
If we lose this one, it could be
I think
over
Patterson
in terms of the playoffs.
busts a kick
5
return,
yards
too.
up the field, rushing
Jacoby.
the passer. Look out! Jacoby Jones! Jacoby Jones! Touchdown! For a first down. Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, there he is.
And the rookie is loose. With one man to get past, he puts a move on. Look at Patterson go! I don't believe this! Touchdown Vikings! And there are no flags. 79 yards by 4. Flacco.
Malcolm.
Marlon
Marlon.
Brown. He's in Viking territory.
He catches the touchdown.
Joe Flacco. Back of the end zone. That's Marlon Brown for a touchdown. Four touchdowns in the last 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Hey, the over-under in this game, Troy, was set at 43. With 2 minutes left, again, the game was 12-7, and as you just heard, 4 touchdowns and 5 lead changes later, the Ravens beat the Vikings 29-26 for a grand total of 54 points.
Oh, my.
55
They annihilated it.
Yes, 6th lead change of the fourth quarter. When Flacco threw that touchdown, that was the most lead changes in the fourth since 1991. So imagine you had the under in a game of snow, which we would bet the under in this game, and then all of a sudden you just kind of see a crumbling before your eyes. And what's even funnier about that is I wouldn't have been worried when Flacco threw that first touchdown. I even wouldn't have been worried seeing Gerhardt score the touchdown. I'm like, all right, whatever. There's still like a minute 40. And, the 2 kick returns are what kind of sealed it.
Insane. Back to back, too.
I wonder how much money Vegas saw on this game and if they, radioed down to their people on the field and said, hey, don't tackle. Don't tackle on this play. Make it
Just
look like
fall.
you're tackling them.
Just fall. You're in snow. No one will even see you.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy that you can go back and look at some of these things and just, betting wasn't legal yet for us. So we weren't betting on these games like a lot of people were probably in Vegas. But it just goes to show you sports are the most inconsistent, predicted outcome events that I have ever seen. Ever.
Yeah, I remember watching that game. It was absolutely insane.
And it's incredible when you're watching it as a fan. Troy being a Ravens fan, you can spot the is that Lamar in the background?
It is.
You can spot Lamar there. It's incredible being a fan. It's not incredible watching your money just dwindle away or go into the flames, as you can see on our stream. It's okay, though, because more often than not, you bounce back. And how you bounce back is by packing your bags and moving forward.
We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me. And it's Louis. Okay. It ain't gonna be no more of the mess that these wonderful fans, the student body, and some of your parents have put up with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming. And when I get here, it's gonna be changed. So I want y'all to get ready.
Yeah, I want you to get ready. Because Troy and I are coming for the sports book.
Yes, we are.
And we're ready to make some money as we go into our locks of the week. I love kicking it off with Thursday Night Football. And, convenient for our listeners today because we actually got to see the actual betting odds for Thursday without the line shifting because, unfortunately, due to some personal reasons, we had to push the show from Wednesday to Thursday. And so we're here today, and we at least have everything out that we know on a sheet of paper. We can look at the lines and know exactly how to attack this. Interested to hear what you have to say here, Troy, because we're dealing with 2 teams that did not live up to expectation this year.
Not even close. Both, like you said, very underwhelming seasons, at least so far. I think they finally announced that Baker's starting, which
is crazy. I mean,
2 practices max.
That's insane. But you know what? If you're the Rams, something's got to change. And how much better is Baker Mayfield going to get than 2 practices? Let's be honest.
That's true. Good point. So, again,
Van Jefferson is about to eat. Watch out, people.
Yeah, I mean, that's all they got.
or Skrorenek or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, it's a pretty disgusting game. But when you saw this game at the beginning of the season, you were like, okay, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah,
like,
Raiders
2
get
high-powered
Adams.
offenses going to be going at it. The Rams can use excuses a little more than the Raiders. At least the Raiders, I don't know about the line, but have been healthy all year. They've just been playing terrible.
Yeah, the only person they're without is Darren Waller. And that's kind of expected at this point. That dude can't stay on the football field.
And all our listeners know we try to stay away from the people that are boosted.
Yep.
At least for the most part.
And I'm sure everybody can predict who's boosted in this game.
Yeah. So I don't know about draft. I haven't looked. But FanDuel is boosting Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs to combine for 2 touchdowns, rushing or receiving. That scares me a little bit, dude. I'm not going to lie.
This game is going to be low scoring.
The one for the Bucs game, was that Monday night?
Yep.
DraftKings boosted Mike Evans or Chris Godwin to score a touchdown.
And guess what happened? Chris Godwin scores a touchdown, yet a holding penalty calls it back, which also lost my fantasy week.
Yeah, we should talk about that too, because that's also insane. So I don't know, dude. I'm going to be honest. I put Mac Hollins in my bet.
And why not?
Not even going to. And I did Mac Hollins 40 yards and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And I did Cam Akers.
That's who I would have done too.
And a touchdown.
And you know what else I'm going to add into that, Troy? And really think about adding this in too. First half total, take the under 21.5.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like a lot of points, and I get that, people. But the Rams are 28th in pace in the league. The Raiders are 26th in pace in the league.
Which is very shocking that the Raiders are that low.
They combine for almost 2 or more seconds per play in the first 30 minutes compared to the second. And you just look at how both of these teams are kind of shaped at this point. Derek Carr and Devontae Adams, yes, they can be lethal. There could be that deep pass. But don't forget that Jalen Ramsey can also lock down no matter the receiver.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
In this case, though, you look at Josh Jacobs, and you just realize how much he can be effective on 3 downs to get the first down. And it's pretty easy for me to sit back and think there won't be more than 3 touchdowns scored in the first half. Now, you get a little dicey with a possible field goal here or there, but neither kicker is somebody that I'm putting out there and thinking that they're going to bury a 52-yard field goal consistently. So even if they make their way down the field, I'm not overly worried about that. I just look at 2 very slow-paced teams in the league, both among the bottom 10 in terms of situation neutral pace, which whatever that really means, whatever stat that really kind of follows along with, just know that it means they play slow in the first half of games. So under 21.5 is something that I would like to add into that, but I'm with Troy. I like Mac Hollins. DraftKings does not have a boost, but I'm with Mac Hollins and Cam Akers. Those 2 seem like 2 of the safer plays. If you want to get even riskier, maybe take out Akers and put in Van Jefferson. That's if you want to get riskier. But as Troy made a point to, if Baker's the starter, which is what it's leaning to, or leaning toward, I should say, then I would trust Cam Akers to get into the end zone before I trust Baker to throw a touchdown pass. Baker struggled to throw touchdown passes to receivers and tight ends that he worked with all year in Carolina. So what makes you think he's going to do that in 2 days of practice with the Los Angeles Rams? I don't see it. I like the under. I also like those 2 touchdowns. And when it comes to yards, I would trust Troy in the props. I would also recommend this to people. Even if the prop is 39.5, and that's the lowest that they offer you, and it comes in at minus 210, look, the prop bet is just some extra sugar. So you don't
100%.
need the plus 110 when it comes to, hey, Mac Hollins, 54.5 receiving yards. No, how about take Mac Hollins 29.5 receiving yards at minus 210? Because that difference, that spread is not that great. And if you're looking to just juice it up a little bit, because that's what you're doing by adding in that player prop, you're just juicing it up a bit, unless you really like somebody to have 5+ catches or 54 receiving yards, whatever it is. If you're juicing it, take the lowest odds that they offer you. Or just don't do it at all. One of the two. Because there are more times than not that has effed us. I can say it. You know what? I've been in radio too long. That has fucked us when it comes to, hey, let's do over 40.5 or over 39.5. And, you know, Troy doesn't want to relive this memory, but it didn't really bother him. Devontae Smith throws the ball back 10 yards, and he loses 13 yards, and that goes below his player prop. So,
or you got, like we did a couple weeks ago, we did Ayuk. He catches 2 touchdowns,
and gets
his
20 yards.
only 2 catches of the game, and he had like 17 freaking yards.
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
and that
I agree,
happens.
dude. Definitely don't go balls out with the player props unless. But the thing with the touchdowns being boosted, it makes me think that Adams and Jacobs are going to go for 100 yards and just not find the end zone.
Yep, they'll have big games.
You have to guess which one gets in.
Right.
Because there's no way they both get in.
No.
There's no way.
And there's no shot that one of them scores twice. And because you can
Also
get the
true.
2+.
Yeah.
There's no shot that's going to happen because it's boosted. Because it's boosted. And Troy alluded to it. Let's go into this now before we move away from the Thursday night football game. When we were watching Monday Night Football, it was about 3 o'clock, and I was playing Fortnite with Troy. And I asked him, I said, Troy, I have a flex spot available. It's either Rachaad White or it's Chris Godwin. Who am I playing? He needed Chris Godwin to go off. It didn't matter to me, but I bet on Rachaad White. So, like, I was just kind of riding with myself. But in the same light, you look at Leonard Fournette coming back from injury and possibly stealing a lot of carries from Rachaad White. So because of that, I needed 10 points in a standard league. I said, you know what, let's go with Godwin because I think the likelihood of him finding the end zone is greater than Rachaad White. And or I think it's greater that Godwin gets 100 receiving yards before Rachaad White collectively gets 100 receiving yards. And so we're on the final drive of the game. I went with Godwin. Spoiler alert, I went with Godwin. Last drive of the game. Tom Brady throws a touchdown pass, which I don't even know how he got it to Godwin, but he throws a touchdown pass to Godwin. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, it finally worked. The gods are with me. Because fantasy gods never come on my side. And Troy can tell you he's beaten me in so many fantasy matchups by like 0.5 points. It's insane. The gods are never with me. And so I'm like, oh my God. I was trying not to like freak out too much because I gotta wait 5 seconds because I don't want anything to pop up on the screen. I don't want to see anything yellow on the football field. I don't want anything. So I'm like, I'm kind of like holding back my excitement. So I text Troy, bro, right when I see it. But I didn't text my next line until I saw the flag symbol pop up and them call holding on Rachaad White. So I said, you're fucking kidding me. And what's this, 3rd down at this point?
Yep.
It may have been 2nd down.
2nd or 3rd, yeah.
So 10-yard penalty, touchdown gets called back, and that would have won me the fantasy week right there. And then
put you in the playoffs.
And put me in the playoffs. Or at least in a position to get to the playoffs, because I play the team in 6th this week, and whoever wins this matchup would have gone. Now I can't win because there's no way I can get 50 points for in a standard league to beat my opponent. There's just no shot even if I win. So I had to win this matchup. And then very next play, Tom Brady throws it to Rachaad White, who scores the touchdown. And I didn't even text Troy at this point because I just knew that, bro, you're fucking kidding me, could apply to both things. So I just left it at that and waited for him to respond in the morning.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I didn't know if you were pumped because you're always a little like a play or two ahead of me. So I saw the touchdown get called back, and I almost threw up. And then when I saw it was White that scored, it just...
I mean,
like
it
you said, man,
solidified how against me the fantasy gods are.
It could have been anyone else.
Anyway, I would have been fine if it was Otten again.
Yep.
I would have been fine if Mike Evans scored the touch. I would have been fine if Brady would have ran it in. But the fact that it was Rashad
receiving touchdown.
100%. 100%. It's what I get. It's what I get for questioning my own motive. Because the only other thing I texted Troy was, it wasn't any cuss words. It wasn't a total, like, you know, man, I'm pissed off. Like, why did you persuade me one way or the other? It wasn't anything like that because, I mean, nobody can predict an outcome like that. And even though Troy is one of the best sports gamblers I know, he couldn't even predict that Rashad White was going to score that touchdown. All I texted him was, what a stinger. Because I'm at the point in my life to where this has happened to me so many times, it's just not surprising. It's not surprising. I wish I could have started them both.
And fuck the Bucs for not being able to move the football until 5 minutes left in the game.
All game.
All game, dude.
So
it was
annoying.
ridiculous.
It's so annoying, essentially. There's no other way to put it.
5 minutes left. You can just put together 2 perfect touchdown drives, and you had a total of 160 yards of offense before those 2 drives.
Couldn't have put it any better. Could not have put it any better. Hey, what do you like on the NHL front?
So there's more games for Friday. Should we talk about Friday?
Talk Friday, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, my Avs are extremely banged up right now. They didn't even score a goal on Wednesday yesterday. So honestly, at this point that they're so banged up, I would probably be okay with taking someone on the other teams that they're playing, at least for the next 3 weeks. They play the Rangers, who score a ton of goals. It'll be interesting to see if guys like Zibanejad and them are 1.5 just because of how poorly we're playing. So if those go either like Zibanejad or Adam Fox is 1.5, I think that's a lock. I tell you what, that Tage Thompson game, we need to be betting on him more often. Dude.
Yeah, that was the most insane first period I've ever seen.
I mean, his 1.5 points was a absolute lock, let alone the 5 goals he scored.
And it's easy to say that now. Like, let's be honest. It's easy to say
the Blue
it now.
Jackets, they are terrible defensively.
Horrific.
And their goalies are just a nightmare.
Really good.
So the teams I like that I've noticed that have been playing extremely well are the Sabres. I would also say the Devils are eating right now. The Kraken always have great odds for their point guys, and they've been playing extremely well. I mean, 33 points. Nobody would have expected that. Winnipeg's actually playing extremely well. They're playing the Blackhawks, so like a Kyle Connor 1.5 could be good. The Oilers, I mean, we laughed about it yesterday that McDavid was minus 165.
Sure did.
For 2 points. He scores 2 goals and gets 2 assists. I mean, and I also don't like that too. When are they going to figure out for us to do that?
Right.
Like if I want to take McDavid for 3+ points, why can't I do that? If he's minus 165 for 2.
For that reason. Especially for that reason. If I want to risk
get
that.
Like plus 100 for 3 points.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
They got to figure that out.
100%.
The Bruins have been playing extremely well. The Sharks are not really. The Sharks Ducks could be a high scoring game though. And the Knights, dude. The Knights have been eating. So anybody I don't want to really give specific players just because you really just got to get the lines right. If you think the second line's going to score, do somebody on the second line. And I love doing defensemen. I had to explain to one of our other buddies because he saw my bets and he looked up that he was like, oh, D'Angelo. He's a defenseman. Like, I don't want to do that. Well, they don't get any points, but I mean, dude, they average way more ice time than all the forwards. Even the second and third string defensemen are playing as much as that first line. So
100%.
I would always hammer defensemen if you can. Their odds are fantastic.
I looked at games for tomorrow, and Troy will laugh because he won't be shocked that DraftKings doesn't have the games up for tomorrow just yet. Because why would you have the games for Friday when
they've always been bad at
when the games are Thursday? Yeah, they've been bad,
before.
But like, come on. Like, let's be honest, guys. Like, come on.
And there's only 5 games today. Like, come on. You know what we're doing for
right.
tomorrow.
You absolutely can be prepared for that. But this is something that I really like, and I'm going to pass it along to people for tonight if they get it in time. And it all starts out with Blues and Jets. And I like Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor's been eating. Jordan Binnington's been letting in goals left and right. I haven't even looked if he's the starter or if the Blues are going with their backup. But either way, I like Kyle Connor just because the Blues have been giving up a lot. Now, the Blues score a lot too. So if you would rather take a Blue over a Jet, I'd go with Kyrou. Kyrou's kind of been in the points column all season long. He's been Mr. Consistent for me too. So I'm a big fan. I'm a really big fan of that play. But aside from that, I like Connor because he's 1.5. It gives you plus odds. That's plus 170. I think he has something like 6 goals and 8 assists over his last 10 games. That's juicy for me. Then I look at the Lightning Predators. And more often than not, in this game, you would think Lightning. You would also think either Cooch or Stamkos because they always find a way to get 2 points. At least more often than not. I know I just used that term, but they seem to find the 2 points column more than only finding just 1 point here or there. But I'm going to go away from that.
Elliott.
I'm going to go away from that because they're starting Elliott. And who's starting Elliott? You mean
Tampa.
Tampa is starting Elliott, right?
Yes.
Roman Josi is somebody that always finds a way to get a point. He's on the ice all the time. He's on that first power play unit. He's on that first defenseman line. He's just involved in plays.
I did him today.
And I like him at minus 150. I think that's a really safe play and good odds to get for somebody that's been red hot. Follow that up with Kevin Fiala against Toronto. The Maple Leafs, a team that score a lot, but hasn't really given us the inkling that Matthews is the guy that he was last year just yet, where you could throw him in any bet and be safe and know that he's going to find a way to get you 2 points. Marner has been that guy. And Troy had a stat that, it was like 18, 19 games in a row that Marner went with a point. Is that streak continuing?
Yeah, he's at I think 19 now.
19 games in a row. If you want to get, antsy and go with Mitchell Marner plus 135, that's a safe play at this point.
He's plus 205 to score.
They don't like him to score this year for some reason.
And he is.
I bet him first goal at plus 1,400 just about a week ago. They just don't like him scoring goals, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, this guy always finds the back of the net. He's always a high goal scorer.
He's got 10 goals.
So I like Kevin Fiala for the Kings, or if you want to ride the hot hand, go with Mitchell Marner. And if you go with Marner, it's going to make your 4-pick parlay even juicier than what it is. Jamie Benn is the last I like in that Stars game. Ben has good odds, and he always finds a way to get that gross point. And if the Stars score like I think they will against Ottawa, there will at least be 1 or 2 times that Jamie Benn has a chance to get a point. And if I can snag him at minus 130 in a game where the Senators let up a lot of goals, I like that 4-pick-em parlay. It comes out to plus 1,245. That's $12.45. You put 10 on it, you win $124. You're feeling good.
Yeah, hockey points are so fun. The odds are fantastic. You only got to throw $10 on it on 4 guys to be over $100, unless you do, obviously, guys that are locks for 1 point. But yeah, man, the Stars got shut out last game. They're going to be letting the puck fly today.
Anything you like UFC-wise for Saturday?
It's actually another good card. Last week, we only went 1 out of 3. Tuivasa let me down. He got shredded in under a minute. I mean, all bloodied up in 54 seconds.
Unexpected.
The fight to not go the distance in that fight was minus 900. And the dude finished him because they knew someone was getting knocked the fuck out.
And how quickly was the finish?
54 seconds in the first round.
So he didn't even escape the bloody
He threw
phase.
one punch, I think. Yeah. But
that's what you want, right?
Fight, huh?
That's what you want, right? It's like golf.
Yeah.
You want the least amount of strokes.
Yeah, it was that dude he fought was a monster, dude. I swear, he came out to the ring. I thought his knuckles were dragging on the ground. His arms were so long, dude. It was crazy.
Like a gorilla, dude. Like,
yeah. The Dos Anjos fight didn't go the distance. We got that one right. He choked him out. And then Kevin Holland fractured his hand in the first round. He made it all the way till the end of the fourth, and then his corner actually called the fight. They said that they don't want to see him keep taking shots because he couldn't even throw rights anymore because he said his hand was fractured. But
fair enough.
It happens. I like a couple people. There's some good fights. Our buddy Josh, he lived in Arkansas for a little bit, and there's this dude named Bryce Mitchell who's fighting, and he's actually the underdog. I love the Topuria guy.
Bryce Mitchell looks like he was really good at math. Like he's the guy that you like cheated on in high school.
Yeah. Like, Bryce, what'd you get, man?
But it's 2 pi over square. Come on.
So it's going to be cool because I love the Topuria guy he's fighting. I've seen him fight a couple times.
And he looks like your school's drug dealer.
Yes, he does. 100%. And then, so I'm going to take Topuria. And then the next fight, the Duplessis against Darren Till. I do kind of like Darren Till. I don't know what it is about him. I don't know if it's not necessarily his fighting that I kind of like his persona a little bit. I kind of see him with
Darren Till is the PE teacher, and Duplessis is the guy that got voted for best hair.
Duplessis, he's no joke. So, but Darren Till at plus 160, I do like that. And then Patty the Batty, I love watching him fight. He's fantastic. His odds aren't great, but I will always be throwing that dude in my
What
parlay.
is up with the haircuts for some of these guys?
Patty? I mean,
Patty.
Yeah.
Patty looks like he needed a wig just to make this photo.
He has some funny pictures because he actually fluctuates weight so much. Like, he has to come down to
he looks like Richie
155. But, dude, he said that he sits around, like, 190 pounds.
You know this guy used to sell videos at Blockbuster.
I mean, maybe. He's an up-and-comer, so I don't know what he was doing. He's probably like, this probably be like his sixth fight, maybe.
He just got off the leaf pad. And
the
now
main
he's
card, dude,
fighting.
is Blachowicz and this. I don't even know where he's from. What flag is that?
That's Russia.
That's what I thought. Those Russians, they all look the same.
They do. I had the chin strap.
I swear they're all related, and they're all monsters.
Right.
But Blachowicz, he's been a champion before. He's a little old, so it's going to be a 5-round fight. So I think I'm going to take it to not go the distance. I don't really want to put that minus 300 in my parlay. So I don't think the fight goes all the way, especially since it's 5 rounds. So we're going to go Topuria, Till, Patty, and then that main card because I can never get it right.
Who's your daddy now?
And we're going to go that not to go the distance. Another great card. Not a lot of huge names, but great matchups.
You know, college football is non-existent this weekend as bowl games
That's so sad. I'm so sorry, buddy.
I know it is what it is. But there is one game, and Troy had reached out to me, and he said, man, who do you like? Because it's the Army-Navy game. One of the best games to watch on TV because we not only get to watch, more college football, but it is our future military men and women who we have so much respect for. And Troy reached out and goes, Navy, right? Like Navy, because Navy's been my team. Navy's been the team I've always said on this show.
I haven't heard shit from Army all year.
But you've also never heard me say take Navy as a favorite. right?
True.
Because more often than not, Navy's like a double-digit touchdown dog, and they run the ball so much that there's no reason they should be favored by any less than 2 touchdowns or any more than 2 touchdowns, right? So when I looked at this game, I was like, you get another highly rush-heavy team, right? And even with a win, Army would not be bowl eligible. So I kind of look at this as their bowl game in a way. And the Army-Navy game carries a lot of weight just because internally they have, competition because as much as we don't want to say like, one military group favors the other, it's an internal competition for these two schools. And it always has been, it always will be. But Army really spreads the ball around well. And they also do that on the ground this season too, because their quarterback, his last name's Tyler. I think it's Tahir Tyler. He's leading the team with 601 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. But he also averages 5 yards per carry, which I think is also crucial because Army loves to run the option, right? They always pack it, and they like to run the football, but they're also not afraid to throw it every now and then. But that's probably what you can expect when Army has the football. They have the nation's second leading rush offense in this game. Troy, hear that again. Second leading rush offense. Can you tell me, take a guess on what military school has the most when it comes to rushing yards per game? Because it always seems like the military schools don't like to air it out.
How many are there?
So you have Army, you have Navy, you have Air Force, and I think that's it. I don't think there's another one.
So I guess Air Force?
That'd be correct. Air Force
That was my guess, though. I thought it was Air Force. I'm not going to lie. But I didn't want to sound like an idiot.
So Navy has done well against the run, though, and that's something that I have proclaimed about this program all season long. They are like top 6, top 7 when it comes to 7 different defensive top 7 in defense, I should say, in college football when it comes to defending the run. So that's something to keep in mind. But I also look at Navy, and offensively, they've kind of been all over the place. And I noticed that a lot against UCF. I know they won that game, but they were kind of like, good play here, and then like didn't do much here. And then even against Notre Dame, they didn't show out. Defense got to them. Even though they came back in the second half, they still weren't able to get over the hump. And that was kind of more of a fluke, Notre Dame defensively, I would say, over anything else. But the Midshipmen have the nation's 7th-ranked rushing offense. And so here's how I look at this game playing out. You have Army, who is the 2nd best. You have Navy, who's the 7th best. You have Navy's defense that can withstand Army's rushing offense. And then you look at Army, and defensively, I'm not overly confident to say that they are better than Navy, but I think offensively, that's what's going to carry them in this game versus Navy. It's going to be close. It's going to be low scoring. If there's one thing you can count on when an Army-Navy game is played, it's that it will be the most efficient game of the season that keeps the clock running.
Yep.
And as I get to my prediction, I'm going to say that Army wins this game 16-13. That's how it's ending. Army.
And they have the better odds. So. And
Army is the dog. They are plus 2.5 right now. So if you aren't overly confident in taking Army outright, which I am, I would recommend it. I am. But aside from that, if you'd rather just take the plus 2.5, I think that's a lock. Let me remind you, I am 62-47 on the year. I only grabbed one win over the weekend. I went 1-4, but keep in mind the record is trending the way you want it to go, and I'm sticking with Army. I actually told Troy Army too because he participates in a pick'em every week with his school.
Yep. So I put him in the middle of the pack, I think, because you have to rank them. So your locks, you put at 16, between like 12 and 16, and I think I put him at like 8 or 9. So,
and great transition because your locks are all based on NFL games. So before we get into player props for the NFL on Sunday, who is your lock this week? Who's taking home your money? Would it be the Bills over the Jets, or what are you thinking here?
Well,
Probably the Cowboys.
Honest, yeah, the Cowboys were up there. The Chiefs are up there against Russell Wilson. I think that game's an absolute lock. And yeah, the Bills are up there. Some of these other games though are just crazy to me, especially because I like looking at the books for some reason. Like I like putting the guys because we don't have to bet spreads.
Right.
So of course I'm going to go look at, oh my God, -14. Put those guys at 1. You kidding me?
Easy.
All they got to do is win.
Easy.
So, but a lot of these games are close. I mean, besides the ones I named, and Joe Burrow's never beaten Cleveland. He's like 0-4 in his career.
That's crazy.
And they're -5.5. I mean, I don't necessarily love that. But then everything else, and the Eagles and Giants, those divisional games, we saw the Eagles play like shit against the Commanders.
Yep.
And -7, I think that game stays close. I think +7 for the Giants is easy. I don't see that, especially because the Giants are at home too. But then everything under that, everything besides those games is under 4 points. With Tyler Huntley starting, I'm not confident in taking the Ravens, unfortunately. That Lions-Vikings line is completely mind-blowing. Again, a toss-up. Like they got to know something. I like the Titans. I think the Titans win, don't they?
You would think. I mean, that's a game that the Titans should win, but the Jaguars have kind of been sneaky every now and then. I mean, you know it best watching them beat the Ravens just 2 weeks ago.
So there's a lot of good games. It's going to be a good week. What do you like?
When it comes to just overall, like I was looking at the spreads, right? And you bring up a great point. Like the Giants' defensive front is so good and can really defend the run really well. And that's going to hinder Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell. It really won't hinder Jalen Hurts. He's going to get his rushing yards. But at +6.5, like they've been one of the best teams this season covering ATS. So that's one game that I'm really paying attention to. The others, the Vikings-Lions, I can't believe the Vikings are dogs in this game. But what I can see, so we talked to Patrick Everson on Hail Varsity Radio this morning in Lincoln. And if you want to check that out, that's Hail Varsity Radio, the podcast. You can go check out his interview. He said the sharp bettors, which is they're right more often than not, are a lot of them are on Detroit to cover in this game because of how bad the Vikings defense is. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense because Jamal Williams has been very productive for this team. Amon-Ra St. Brown's healthy again. Jared Goff has low-key been okay when it comes to putting up numbers that we expected the number 1 overall pick to do. But, I'm not saying take the Lions in this game, but don't be afraid to take the Lions here because a lot of people are saying, hey, it's not a fluke. Don't get into the, oh my gosh, +110 for the Vikings. Like those odds are a lock. Like don't just fall right into that.
The last time we thought that they were playing Dallas at home and they were like +105, 110 and we couldn't believe it.
Right.
And they got smashed.
It was like, what, 40-3 or something?
It was bad.
So
that brings me back to that, too.
Yeah, keep those things in mind, and especially as we get down the list into, like, the 3 o'clock games, really watch out for the Chargers. I know they're +3.5 against the Dolphins, but Tua did not look good last week. In fact, he missed so much, and I am not going to make excuses for Tua and say that, if the throw was like 3 inches, to the left, that ball would have been caught for Waddle. Or, if Mostert or whoever, if it was Wilson running down the sidelines, would have adjusted his route a smidge. He could have caught that. It may have been a little more acrobatic, but still made it all the way possibly for a touchdown. No, Tua needs to make those throws, and he's just not. And I'm not saying the Chargers defense is anything like the 49ers. Did I say Chiefs? Anything like the 49ers. That's who the Dolphins played last week. But if the Chargers can get healthy, man, they're going to be sneaky because they are still clawing their way into playoff position. So that's a game that I really like too. But outside of that, you hit the nail on the head. It's going to be hard for those people that love to make 16-game parlays or whatever it is and pick the right ones. It's going to be very difficult this week. But when we look at the noon slate, who do you like for touchdowns?
Oh, yeah, baby. I mean, so if I had to pick running backs, I'm going to go Zeke. He's on an absolute tear. I'm taking him, absolutely. How do you stay away from Jamal Williams at this point? You alluded to how shitty the Minnesota defense is. Run or pass. It doesn't even matter.
Bad.
So we'll go Jamal Williams. We'll go Zeke. We'll go Derrick Henry. And if the Giants want to win this game, there's one person that always scores, and it's Barkley. Every time.
It's a great point.
If they want a shot at that to win that game, he's usually their first touchdown.
Yeah.
Almost
that's a great
every
point.
time. So, yeah, we'll throw Saquon in there too. I love those 4 guys.
And if you're going to replace Jamal with anybody, I would replace him with Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's the guy that will find the end zone.
And I like Dalvin too. I mean, I think if you do a same game X and you throw Jamal Williams or Amon-Ra and then throw that in with Dalvin,
there aren't
Detroit
many
gives up
games.
A lot of rushing yards.
There are not many games that the over/under is set above 50, and this is one of them.
And I think this over could hit.
It wouldn't shock me.
Bad their defenses are.
Yeah, it would not shock me.
It'd be a good game to bet on for sure.
I think Jamar Chase gets into the end zone this week too against Cleveland. I know Cleveland's a really good defense and looked really good last week, but I think they got painted out to look better than they actually are against the Houston Texans. Again, we're talking about the Texans there. But Jamar Chase had a big game, didn't find his way into the end zone, but that catch he made out of bounds was absolutely insane. He's a player that no matter if he's injured, partially injured, or if he's fully healthy, he's going to make an insane play on the football field at some point or two. And this could be the game that I see Jamar Chase finding his way into the colored grass. I like Amon-Ra. I like Chase. And then I look at the Dallas-Houston game, dude, and I'm going to fall into CeeDee's hands. So I want to keep this with receivers. CeeDee has been excellent so far this year, and especially with Dak throwing him the football, it's 10 times better than it once was. If you want to get even a little more dicey with something, Dalton Schultz's odds are going to be really good. They always are. And his numbers with Dak are absolutely insane. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but they are crazy. I said them on my fantasy football show just last week. If you look at Dalton Schultz when he's paired up with Dak, it's night and day difference than what he was with Cooper Rush. And he finds the end zone more often than not too. I like those 3 or flip-flop Dalton Schultz and CeeDee, but I'd probably go with the 3 receivers. Keep it consistent, but if you're like, hey, I want the juicier odds, don't be afraid to go with Schultz.
And though in the Dallas game, you have a 50-50 shot. You either have to guess Gallup or Schultz. Those are the guys that fight for those that, outside the running backs and CeeDee, those guys fight for the other targets. And, of course, I did Schultz last game.
Hey, don't be afraid either to put the Cowboys defensive touchdown in any bet this week. Do not be afraid to do that. How crazy would it be, dude, to make a defensive touchdown bet this week?
I mean, and what would do you do them in the games that are supposed to be closer, or do you do them for the teams that are supposed to be blowing out their opponent?
So in this case, I would do the Cowboys defense just because they're the best defense in the league. And then I would jump to Monday Night Football and do the Patriots defense against the Cardinals. You're looking at 2 of the best fantasy defenses just right there. And I could easily see, if not a literal defensive touchdown, but I'm pretty sure doesn't special teams count as defensive touchdowns?
I don't know in betting terms. I know in fantasy terms they obviously do.
I think it does.
So
I don't know.
That's a great question. So if they run a punt back, is that a defensive touchdown?
I want to say yes. Because fantasy numbers mirror betting numbers a lot more than they don't, but I don't know I don't know for a fact if that's the case or not.
It has to, because they're technically on defense. It's 4th down.
Right. No, you're 100% right. And then, frankly, I wouldn't be shocked if, the Bills defense finds a way.
The Chiefs against Russell Wilson.
Yep, the Chiefs defense finds a way. If I could parlay the 3 right now and you held a gun to my head and said, what are you going to do? I'd do the Cowboys, I'd do the Patriots, and I would do the Bills. I would parlay those 3 because the Jets just are not a good offensive team.
Shout out to Garrett Wilson. He saved my weekend.
They just aren't. I mean, if Breece Hall were healthy and in the lineup, it'd be completely different. Completely different. But their run game's abysmal. Michael Carter's not it. He's not.
He's been hurt, too. It's been that other dude.
It's been, what, his name? Knight, I think is his last name.
You go. Yeah.
So, hey, we got about 7 minutes before we wrap this thing up. What do you like for the 3 o'clock games?
3 o'clock games. There's actually, 4?
Yep.
3?
You got the Chiefs, Broncos, Carolina Seahawks, Bucks, 49ers. Just 3, I should say. Just 3. And then you have the Sunday night game.
Probably a little same game X action there. We'll do. I'm not touching anyone on the Broncos.
No. Hard
Kelsey
pass.
boned me last week. His odds are going to be awful.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd probably still take Kelsey.
Yeah. Even at minus 190.
You want to take Pacheco, but dude,
they don't run the ball enough.
They could be up big,
but Jerick McKinnon could steal it. There are games where you think Andy Reid's going to go with this running back, and then he ends up going with this guy all game.
Yep, 100%. So I'd probably just stay with Kelsey in that game. I've been heavily on McCaffrey. He's skated by with a couple touchdowns since he's been with the 49ers. I think I'm going to stay away this week, which means he'll probably score. But the Bucs don't excite me either. I love that 49er defense. So I'll probably go with like Deebo Samuel.
Don't be shocked either if the 49ers defense does it and not the Bills. If you take a defensive touchdown, because Tom Brady does not look good.
So we'll stick with, I can't say wide receivers, guys that catch the ball.
Right.
Kelsey, Deebo, and then, dude, I love DK Metcalf.
Hey, why not?
I love that guy.
Why not put DK and Lockett? Why not do them both? Do the same game parlay X to make that parlay even juicier, because Geno Smith is going to throw all over this Panthers
Again, you don't really want to take a Panther either. You're going to take DJ Moore and sit there and pray all game?
Nope.
I mean,
although you are looking at 3 games that the over-under is 44 or below. That's something to keep in mind, especially in that Bucs 49ers game.
Not great for betting touchdowns per se, because you got to get them right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can't add anything more to that. You kind of hit the players that I like too, and it would be a shame to try to throw out 3 other names just to, vary this, because it just doesn't make sense for our listeners to do that. You look at the Sunday night game, Dolphins-Chargers, over-under at 51.5. This is a game where I think you can get away with putting 4 touchdowns in a bet. You can get away with putting Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Austin Eckler, and
Keenan Allen.
Yeah, maybe. That's probably. I was thinking Palmer too could be somebody. He gets a lot of catches. And if Mike Williams isn't playing, which he probably is trending in the wrong direction again this week, those would be the 4 that I like.
Yes, I think I lost Kyle Pitts, so for my fantasy to try to make the playoffs,
Gerald Everett.
I've been trying. I played K. Dotton. He got nothing. Then I try Hayden Hurst. He gets hurt. K. Dotton scores. Mm-hmm. So this week, I think I'm going to try Gesicki.
Ooh.
Because, I saw Waddle hobbling last game.
Yeah.
I know there hasn't been anything. He doesn't have a questionable tag, nothing. But he was hurting last game. I don't know if it was an ankle or what. So I know I'm throwing dog bones, man. The tight ends it's a standard league, so none of them are projected over 4.
Right.
So I'm going to try Gesicki this week, so wish me luck.
I wish you all the luck in the world. Hey, quickly here, let's touch on Monday Night Football, and then we'll build a parlay. Patriots, Cardinals, this game 43.5. I don't think this is going to be a fun football game to watch. I look at the Cardinals and the position that they're in, still trying to find a way. I'd take D-Hop to score in this game, and I'm going to go back to the guy that, needs to find the end zone. He needs to. Ramondre Stevenson. He's got to find it at some point.
Please.
At some point. And I'm not going to miss it.
He's burning me every week.
I'm not going to miss it this week. Those would be the two that I like.
I would agree. Maybe do their yards too. Boom, you're set.
Hey, let's build a parlay. Cue the music. Troy, kick us off. We're doing 2 each like we did last week.
Okay. Well, so we'll do one that's a little nicer, I guess, not nicer, but easier. Is that the right word? More of a lock?
Yeah, I would say the
Safer?
better odds. Safer is the way to go.
Okay. So I'm going to do anytime touchdown. I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do someone that I think is a lock, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a stretch one. So I'm going to stick with the NFL, as I usually do. We're going to go. I haven't thought about this too much, but I do like it. For my safe one, out of all these games, I'm going to do Travis Kelce, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then for my long shot, give me your lock.
My lock is Amon-Ra St. Brown against the Vikings.
Okay. And then a little bit of a deep shot.
And Amon-Ra.
I'm going to do Gesicki. I'm going to do Mike Gesicki on Sunday night.
Oh, my goodness. Mike Gesicki, because you need him.
Yep.
You need him. Wow, that's crazy. Well, for me, this was difficult because I thought the same way. I'm like, man, do I just go with the safe guy? Do I go with the long shot? But because you just went with Gesicki, I'm going to get a little bit dicey too, maybe in territory that nobody's going to really, get excited about. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. I know that the Giants have a good defense, but A.J. Brown is eating, and he's been all over the place. It may not sound as much of a stretch as, Mike Gesicki, but the way A.J. Brown's been playing, I just don't want to go away from him right now. So
good.
That's the parlay that I think we'll stick with. It will be my picks, Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown. Troy's picks, Travis Kelce and Mike Gesicki. So we have 2 receivers, 2 tight ends. We'll see if it works. And don't get me wrong, I did think Dalton Schultz there too. So maybe
we're gonna do one where we put all 4 of those guys together.
I was gonna say maybe we'll do the 3 tight end parlay.
There we go.
And then we'll find a way to build the proper parlay. But with that, we'll get you out of there on that note. We hope we make you some money this week. It's important to us that we do. I tell people this all the time, and a lot of people don't believe me because I lose more than I win. But I am always happy when somebody else takes the house money. I will never, ever get upset that it's not me. I'll be a little envious because I can't find a way to do it, and I'm jealous that you may do it on a more consistent basis, but I'm all about people taking the sportsbook's money.
Yeah,
let that be known.
100%.
Let that be known.
As long as somebody's winning, I'm chilling. Absolutely.
It's a win for the people, and we are men of the people. So, thanks for joining us for the show. Hopefully, like I said, we win you some money this week because we put out the big plays, we're avoiding bad days, and we made a lot of parlays. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.